I'm going to show you the hidden n8n code node powers that blew my mind. Most people avoid the code node because actually it sometimes appears too technical, but you can master it in just one afternoon, starting with this video. The code node has built-in helpers and shortcuts to make those complex tasks incredibly simple, and you don't need to be a coding expert to use these powerful features. But you do need to understand the basics. So in this video, with the help of a free template, I'll reveal the specific code node functions that pros use daily, show you the built-in helpers that save hours of work, and walk you through real examples you can copy and paste into your workflows. And as a side note, if you're looking for more exclusive content, then check out the link to my community in the description below. Now, this is the closest you're going to get to actually coding, but will unleash a lot of additional flexibility once you understand the code node directly inside n8n. And this just allows us to actually extend the functionality of n8n to do things that JavaScript code would be able to do. So things we can't do conventionally inside n8n, we're able to actually extend that and use the code node to do that. So we're going to show you a really cool demonstration of a free template that shows you how to do that. So go to n8n.io/workflows, and we're just going to type in learn code node. And we've got another example from Lucas Payrin here. And we're going to go into that example. We're going to click to explore, and we're going to copy and paste. Just copy that, copy it, go to a new workflow, and you're going to paste that in, and it's going to look a little like this. And it's designed to just execute workflow, and that will run through, and you will be able to see exactly the different elements we're going to run through now. But lots of other platforms like Make and Zapier don't allow this additional functionality. So this makes n8n really powerful. And once you understand this, you can actually pretty much do 99% of things inside n8n. So we're going to start with some sample data here, which is effectively a list of users. And you can see this is a set of JavaScript objects with first name, last name, and birth date. So we've got 4 different users here. And what we're going to do is just see that sample data on the right-hand side. It's an array of users, all in sub-objects with key value pairs. And we're going to use the split out node to split out the users object. We just drag that across there. And that's going to show us now, effectively, if we were to put it into a table of, it splits out the users compared to a table here, which has one great big row with all the different users in this array. You can see it's been split out nicely. And that means we can process those rows individually. So what we're going to do now is take those users and actually manipulate them with the code node. So say we have a bunch of users and we want to perform some actions on those users. What we're going to do is show you how to use the code node to actually do that. And the first thing we're going to cover is like how to process each of those individual users using that code node. So if we go into the code node, and actually if I set up a new code node, you'll see exactly how this starts. So it says you can run once for all items. So every single item, every single name, user that comes through, we're going to run that once. We can choose JavaScript or Python, but to stick with the JSON object notation, I would recommend, if you're going to start by learning the expressions of one, just go with JavaScript, because the rest of n8n is manipulated using JavaScript object notation or JSON. So there's always an example in this field, which is loop over input items and add a new field called myField to the JSON of each one. So if we actually run this, we will see that for each of these users, it's going to basically say for each item in our input, which is take all of our values from our input, return this object, which is effectively return everything you've been given, plus a new field called myNewField equal to 1. So if we execute that step, you will see that now we have a myNewField equal to 1, and we look at the JSON and it's effectively added a new key value pair. So we're going to do the same, but for different use cases. So let me just delete that there. What we're effectively doing here is grabbing the input data. So we're saying, okay, each user, and we just called it user for ease of us seeing this, each user is equal to the input item, as we saw, $input, and that's just how we denote it, .item.json. So each user is effectively this collection of details. So this would be grabbing effectively this object here, right? Because that's the JSON. It's the input item JSON. Each full name is $input.item.json .first name plus .last name. But the way we can write that is because we've already denoted that a user is this object here, first name, last name, birth date. We can effectively say inside this, grab the first name. So we're just using the dot notation again, and we're effectively just putting it in these backwards apostrophes here to pass in dynamic data. So first name and last name, just to denote that it's dynamic data. Because if we, for example, use these exclamation marks, this will come out as user first name, user last name, and it will understand it as a string. There we go, user first name, user last name. But actually, we tell it that it's going to receive dynamic data by using this notation here. And full name, you can see, combines the first name and the last name. We just do, again, a few different manipulations. So birth date, we're actually just going to effectively pull the birth date, but we're turning that into a date type. So we're saying it's a new date. So this is just data type manipulation. And here we've got a few manipulations to work out what their actual age is. So again, it's just like, if you don't look too much into the details, it's saying, okay, let's define this constant, which is a birth date, which is this value, which is a date value. We're saying that should be treated like a date value, not a string, like it is in the input. And we're saying, okay, let's take the date of now and let's take the date of the birth date and let's subtract the difference. And what we're going to get there is the age as a number. And then finally, all we're doing is saying return that new data, but keep the original fields as well. So the way we can do that is at the end of each of these, there's always going to be some sort of return statement. So what we're saying is return, and then ... user says just keep all the original data, which we defined up here as input.item.json. That's why we've called it user. And then also return the full name and the age. So if we were to remove this user here and run it again, it would just return the full name and the age. But we want to return everything inside there. So we use dollar, and even though it's got a thing that suggests it's wrong there, it's actually correct. It's called the spread operator. If you've understood this so far, you will know 80% of it. And you don't always have to write these completely from scratch. You just need to understand how to read them, because actually you can use things like Perplexity and Claude, paste in the example code node and say, I want to do this action on this data. Can you write a code node for me? But once you understand how to read it, you can do that. Now it's getting more advanced, which is like sometimes you might want to fetch external data. And I didn't even know you could do this until I started doing this tutorial. So this is awesome. But effectively what we're saying is actually we want to work out the gender of a name in here. So again, we've defined the user as input.item.json. But then what we're going to do is actually use a helper function to create a HTTP request. So inside this code node, we can grab external data and make a request. So what we've defined is a URL here for a site called genderize.io. If I go to genderize.io, very simple site, just basically says check the name of a gender, and they have the API docs in here. And all we're going to do is basically send a name and get back a response, which is a predicted gender of that name. So we've defined the URL endpoint we're going to send here. And also as a query parameter, we are sending the name here, which is user.firstname. And all we're doing is effectively sending that first name there. Now, this is slightly more complex, and this is JavaScript code, but n8n handles a lot for us. We're basically saying that you as a code node are going to wait for a response from the URL that we're going to fetch the data from. So we use this await operation because it's asynchronous, or it's going to happen and we're going to have to wait for the response. So it's not going to expect immediate response. It's basically going to tell it, wait until you've got this response before you move on to the next part. And then we've got this special helpers function, where we just use this notation, this.helpers.http request. And this is just a powerful built-in function inside of n8n. And we're saying request it from the URL, which is this URL here. So we're sending the first name to that URL. And we're saying return the data in JSON, or we're sending the data in JSON. I'm not sure which. And then what we're saying is return the data, again, merged as keep all the existing datas, pull the gender from the response. So this response.gender. So we know from the API documentation that the response is going to contain a count, a name, a gender, and probability. So we could return any of those and add them to there. So if we wanted to add, let's say, count, which is the count of the number of that name, we could say gender, because that's the response, gender counts, which is our key. And then we'd say response dot count, I believe it was, count. And that now should return the full user details that we had before, but also a gender count, a gender probability, and a gender. We've got the count, the gender, and the gender probability that it is actually that gender as well. So very cool. You can actually send external requests from a code node. Extremely interesting. Lesson 3 is all about processing all items at once. So if you didn't want to process each individual item, you wanted to process them as a group, then instead of using the run once for each item, we run once for all items. So we're basically saying, grab all of the names here and perform some manipulation on all of those items. So if we run this, we'll see the output. We're effectively performing some aggregate statistics on that information. We're saying, okay, total users is 4 and the average age is 31.75. So this code only runs once for all users. It gets all items from the previous node. So we use the $items terminology here. And this is just something you need to learn over time with practice of which information to use. I'm just showing you how powerful it can be to use these. And then what we're saying is actually we're going to define this metric, which is total age, and we're just going to perform an action on it. So this is a bit more complex, and this digs deeper into JavaScript code and terminology there, but we're basically saying that we want to perform an aggregation on all of the total ages inside this object. And I'm not going to dwell on the detail of this specific notation. This is something that Claude or Perplexity can help you actually write. You just need to understand exactly what you're trying to do with the data that you're receiving. And then we've got things like inbuilt functions like length, which says, okay, grab the user count, the user count is basically equal to all users, which was all of our items, dot length. So the number of objects inside object. And then we've got things like total age over user age. We're basically just defining metrics in here, and then we're telling it to return this object. So we again have got a JSON object containing total users, average age, and inside the average age, we're just formatting it to 2 decimal places using more JavaScript notation. So don't dwell too much on the details, but you can basically perform statistical manipulations inside these code nodes. And then the final lesson is all around creating binary files. So believe it or not, you can actually turn things into files using JavaScript code. So we're going to aggregate all the items and generate a CSV in this case using just the code node. So again, this is something that's really powerful that you won't use all too often, but it's great to know that this is a concept inside n8n. And we've got key concepts in here, which is effectively we're grabbing the information from previous steps. So we're using this notation inside, which I'll show you in a second. And then we've got, again, another helper function inside n8n. This .helpers.prepare binary data. So we know when we work with a file, it's binary data, but it converts raw data into a proper binary file. And then buffer is a standard way to handle binary data in JavaScript. So we're going to see all of those concepts in here. But what we're doing is effectively we're trying to turn that information that we had earlier inside the fetch node. So this first name, last name, etc. And we're going to run it once for all items. And we're going to convert that into a file, which is actually super awesome. So we're going to grab all users again. And the way we're going to do that is actually reference a previous node. So this is something you will see quite often in code nodes. We're going to need to know how to reference a previous node. And it's similar to when we use our JavaScript expressions of double notations, except we don't need the double bracket notation. We just need the dollar and then the name here. And then what we're doing is grabbing all of that data from there. So we've got a list of all users or the object there. And we're going to start to define what the CSV content will look like. So we've got the different headers in there. And then what we're saying is loop through each item inside the all objects array. And for each of those, grab the user. And then we're defining what that row would look like. So where we put here full name, age, gender, guess, etc., we're effectively using the notation that passes in dynamic data. And we're saying grab the full name, comma, the age, comma, the gender. And that's going to fit under each of these headers, which we're going to put in the file first. And then what we're doing is we're basically saying, put it on a separate row. So it'd be the CSV content, which is the headers, and then plus equals just means that we're going to add the next line to the next visual line. And the way we do that is using this -n. So again, this might seem a little bit complex, but you can use Perplexity and Claude and GPT to actually define these, but being able to read them or understand certain concepts is really important. And that's the important thing here, is actually you can create CSV files from this. And then we're going to use this helper to create a binary file from that. So again, we've got the function, which says wait until it's done. And then we're going to use this .helpers.prepare binary data, which is an inbuilt function inside n8n. And we're using this buffer function, which is a predefined way in JavaScript to handle data. And then what we're saying is actually the CSV content file on which we added these rows to with a new line is now basically a list of rows, which is the header row and then all of the data rows. So we've got that in effectively like a prepared way. Now we're going to say, from that CSV content, turn that into a report that's called user report.csv. And then always we need to return the items. So we're going to return effectively a date here. So when the report was generated, a user count, but then we're going to return the binary file. So if we execute that, you will see this returns in the table. It's the report generated when and the user count here. But in the actual binary file, we've got a CSV here, which we can download, and we can open that up and we can see inside there that we've effectively got the binary data that's been created inside that code node. So that is how to master the code node in multiple different ways, create files, manipulate aggregate level data, manipulate single data, and also reference previous nodes. Once you've mastered these concepts, you will honestly find everything so easy inside n8n, because from then on, it's just rinse and repeat. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the content, please give it a like and subscribe below. So that wraps up the code node. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the content, please give it a like below and subscribe to the channel.